Hey there, I'm Ryan Osborne here on the Coaches Show alongside Caleb Ramos. You're going to hear from more across this entire semester. Hal Sherbeck Classic, that's coming up on Saturday. It's meant to honor the man directly behind Caleb Ramos, Coach Hal Sherbeck. We're going to have more on him and the legend that he was in the Fullerton College community. All that and more here on the Coaches Show. Radio has been hosting the Coaches Show since 2008. And Caleb, you look at these two teams, Fullerton and Moore Park, they have not played each other in quite a long time.
Yeah, you'd have to go back almost 10 years to 2016 and 2017, the last two national championships for Fullerton College. And obviously, with them winning national championships, they were dominant those 2 years, which clearly showed in their Moore Park games, as Moore Park got blown out both years, 62-6 and 57-0 in 2016 and 2017, respectively.
And in that shutout matchup for Fullerton, if I remember correctly, it had been about 8 years prior that Fullerton hadn't had a shutout. They had a chance to get a hand on a field goal late in the game with about 6 minutes left, if I remember correctly. As Caleb said, it's almost 10 years ago now that we ended up traveling up there. Great trip for everyone who was a Hornet fan. We went up there, they get the shutout. The defense was really enthused about it. But it's a testament, once again, to Fullerton College's legacy as a football program. Now,
Absolutely.
These two teams will have the second half coming up. If you're watching this at halftime, if you're not, we welcome you to Hornet Radio's YouTube page, where we're going to talk a little bit more about that Fullerton College football legacy. Now, this matchup, of course, is taking place as part of the third annual Hal Sherbeck Classic here at Fullerton College. And one thing about Hal Sherbeck is that he was beloved by everyone around the program. And Caleb, before I get too much into Hal Sherbeck, we're actually going to let you talk to someone who has been a part of this program for quite a long time and got to talk to Hal himself, really giving us the answers on what Hal Sherbeck was like and kind of detailing why this matchup is named after him.
Hi, Mark. Could you introduce yourself for the camera, please?
I'm the old guy here at Fullerton College, known as Mark Pavlovich, the voice of Fullerton College football for the last 26 years. So I've been the voice now on Hornet Radio. Before that, I was on SportsNetUSA.net. And before that, it was 90.1 KBPK. So I've had a long run here, seen a lot of Fullerton College football. It's been a ball.
Let's start at the beginning of his career here. Why was he hired here when his only football coaching experience was an assistant coach at the University of Montana, and his only head coaching experience was as the head baseball coach of the same university, and he had a career losing record there?
Well, what you need to look for is you look for the quality of a coach and realize Orange County was the hotbed of football. Anaheim High School, Van Orbach, Mickey Flynn, a running back. Football was what we did on the weekends here in Orange County. We went down to La Palma Stadium and watched. And that's what they wanted on the community college level. So they took a coach that they thought could get them there. And it looks like history was right because he did.
As Mark mentioned, Hal Sherbeck did end up being the guy for Fullerton College and their football program. And he was successful for numerous reasons. But the main one being, he really cared about his players.
Hal Sherbeck understood what men were like. He wanted personalities that thought similar to himself, such as caring about the student athletes that came here. He looked at a lot of these young athletes coming from places where nobody cared about them. There may not be a lot of love. They didn't really have the support for being successful through the years in front of them. So when they came here, they found a family in the coaching staff here at Fullerton College, and that is what made this group successful.
Not only was Hal Sherbeck known as an amazing human being that cared about his players, he was also a fantastic coach as well, breaking numerous records and having 3 national championships and a 47-game unbeaten streak, one off of Oklahoma's record. When maintaining success in any form of college football is hard, let alone California.
everybody loves to come play for somebody who cares about them, and realize there wasn't the amount of community colleges that we have now in California. So there was limited places to go, and they all wanted to go someplace where they thought somebody cared about them. Athletes want to know that they're liked and they're cared for. And that's what they did here at Fullerton College. It wasn't just about the game, it was about the story of life.
Through that on and off field success, Hal Sherbeck was able to build a fantastic community here at Fullerton College, and he was extremely humble about it as well, once being quoted as saying that he doesn't deserve any special credit for it and that he and his staff were just in a great situation. He did also say that players came to FC expecting to win and not hoping to win. Mark says one of those may be more true than the other.
Well, I think the first one, you can find out that Hal really cared about the student athlete, maybe something that's been lost through the years after Hal Sherbeck. But he cared about those student athletes, and in doing so, when you talk about winning, you talk about winning on the field, but not in the sense that it stops when the game's over. You talk about teaching winning through life. How do I get to the next step? How do I get to the job I want? How do I have the family that's always going to love me? And this is something that Hal and his coaches taught the gentlemen that came to Fullerton College to play the game of football. It wasn't just a football story, it's a life story.
Hal Sherbeck was able to build an extremely close community with his players. Some might even call it a family. So much so, in fact, that players used to come back to FC just to talk to Coach Sherbeck about their success and his impact on their life.
Well, they came back because many of them thought if it wasn't for Hal Sherbeck and other coaches like an Al Fiola, people wouldn't have ended up where they ended up. Realize we had pro football players, we have college coaches, we have NFL coaches, we have lawyers, doctors, educators that have come through here. You name the professions, they have come through here because of the coaching staff with Hal Sherbeck and Hal and everybody else. That's what happened. And so what happens is people come back to say thank you.
Coach Hal Sherbeck will always be remembered as a legend here as a Hornet for all his successes and championships on the field, but more importantly, for all the lives he touched as he helped all his student athletes grow into the men that they became.
So once again, Caleb, you got the opportunity to learn more about Hal Sherbeck and just not only the man that he was, the legend that he was, not just with Fullerton College football, but across his overall life and what he was able to do with these student athletes
Right.
and the community of Fullerton. Was there anything that surprised you when you researched about Hal Sherbeck?
I don't know about surprised, but the thing that was most interesting to me was how kind of humble he was as a coach. I mean, coming in and retiring with 241 wins, the most in community college football history at the time. And he said, I believe in November of 2012, which I mentioned earlier in the interview, that he doesn't deserve any special credit, which I disagree with, but he doesn't deserve any special credit for the success that they had as a program, and that him and his staff just kind of coached in the golden age. And that, to me, that shows how humble he was, because I don't think that they would have had that kind of success if he and his staff weren't such good coaches. So the humility kind of stood out to me.
You mentioned that 3 national championships, 65, 67, and 83, going to multiple national championship games, state championship games, numerous conference titles. But that's not what he's remembered for. He's remembered for the man that he was in the Fullerton community and everyone who was an alumni of his program going on to do bigger and better things. That's going to do it for us here at the Coaches Show. If you are watching this at halftime of Fullerton and Moore Park, we're going to get you back out to the action with Mark Pavlovich. But if you're watching it here on Hornet Radio, again, we welcome you to our YouTube page. Take a look at the videos that we have presented in the past. A lot of quality work from students like Caleb himself and others that you will see along the way. For the Coaches Show and for Caleb Ramos, I'm Ryan Osborne, thanking you for joining Hornet Radio on this edition of the Coaches Show.